University of Oklahoma, which is not the school that you went to. You went to Oklahoma State, so we want to make sure make sure that you're not involved with in any of these shenanigans. This is the big story yesterday, and I know it broke when I was on the air. And sometimes if I'm in this little capsule in here, I don't really know what's going on around the world at the very second that I'm doing a show. But University of Oklahoma severed ties with a national fraternity that was caught on video doing a racist chant. The fraternity was Sigma Alpha Epsilon, and I guess they were on a bus going to some kind of party or something like that. One of those small party bus type things. And I can't play it. I mean, there's no way I could play it, but they were chanting, basically chanting to the effect that they don't want black people in their fraternity. That's about as nice as you could say it. So the school has cracked down. They've taken away the school charter for the fraternity, kicked them out of their fraternity housing, so they have to find new housing. The national chapter of Sigma Alpha Epsilon has revoked OU's chapter of that fraternity. Is that enough?
Yeah.
Enough? Too much?
Too much.
Too much?
Yeah, it's absolutely too much. Way too much. You're messing with these kids' lives for a chant that was done on a bus. They didn't even know they were being recorded. And which one of us, who doesn't say stupid things privately?
Well, here's the problem I have. I don't mind the school revoking the charter of the fraternity. I don't mind the national fraternity revoking the charter because they represent something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Those make sense. And if they're not in a fraternity, then they can't live in the fraternity house. They could live in regular student housing. That's I wouldn't. And this might still happen. They might still end up getting expelled. I think expulsion would be the step too far.
Well, didn't they get suspended? People involved got suspended in this. I heard last night. That's too far. Well, why?
Well,
why are they getting suspended?
Well,
it makes the fraternity look bad. The fraternity took care of it.
Yeah.
The school took care of that aspect. I just don't understand why why you're getting involved in somebody's academics. You're just taking it too far. And then, by the way, these people, they could have done something. I mean, there's fraternity. This fraternity, by the way, around just a full disclosure, they've had a ton of incidents, not like racist incidents, but a ton of other incidents, hazing, stuff like that.
So they
kind of have a bad reputation.
So they're like Delta House.
Kind of. And here's the weird thing about that. I've never heard a story about the hazing incidents. And there's been some deaths involved with some of that stuff.
Well, and apparently,
what were the punishments there?
Now, that's a good question. Yeah. I think it should be less punishment for this, obviously. Now, apparently, in some schools, this Sigma Alpha Epsilon is an integrated fraternity, where because in a lot of places, the fraternities and sororities, they're segregated not by rule but by their own choice. Anybody that's been to college and spent any time on a 4-year college campus knows there's the black fraternity, there's the rugby fraternity, there's a fraternity for every group, and the cheerleaders are in one. It's one of these things. I never understood the fraternity thing. I never really understood, other than it gives young people that haven't really had an identity for themselves. They've always lived at home with their parents. It gives them a new family. I understand the value of that, and I understand the school not wanting this to represent them. the national chapter not wanting this to represent them. I think that's the proper action.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
fine with all that.
That's the proper action. And let's be honest. You don't really need to be in a fraternity. Plenty of people go to college. They don't join fraternities. They have fine academic lives. I think that's where they need to cut it off.
No suspensions.
Suspensions and expulsions and banning people from things. Now, also on the other hand, say, I don't know, maybe one of the kids runs into a big African American gentleman, and the guy calls him out on it. Maybe the African American gentleman gets a little bit of a pass as long as it doesn't hurt him bad.
Well,
that's the way things used to be.
People dealt with stuff on their own.
Yeah, people dealt with stuff on their own instead of depending on, in this case, the college to take care of it.
Yeah, an overzealous college.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. 50 years ago, well, we'll do 25 years ago. 50 years ago, this would have been acceptable. We'll try 25 years ago. 25 years ago, bunch of white fraternity brothers starts chanting racial slurs. The black fraternity hears about it. Maybe they go knock on the door. Hey, let's have a sit down. You guys need to learn something.
Yeah,
that's how it used to be.
That's how
handled.
you handle stuff. That's how a man handles things.
That's how adult human beings handle things.
Right. Man-to-man confrontation.
Instead of secretly recording it and uploading it to YouTube.
Yeah. Like I said, the kids shouldn't be suspended. Expulsion should be out of the question. I think what they said was vile, disgusting. You could add a bunch of other adjectives to it.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, maybe I'm weird, but if this was reversed and it was an African-American fraternity and they were chanting stuff about not letting whites in their fraternity ever, I wouldn't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
We have to stop with this bogus, this fakeness. We're so fake as a society that we will refuse to say that all of us say stupid, asinine things when we think we're in private and when we think we're amongst family and amongst friends, close-knit people like these kids on this bus did. Okay? We're foolish. And then we want to come out here on our high horse whenever something racist happens, and we want to point fingers and say, look how terrible this is. Look how terrible this is. Well, what if somebody got something recorded you when you're sitting there saying something stupid? Should that ruin your life? Should you get suspended from school? Should you get fired from your job? It's ridiculous, and we're a fake society, and we need to get over it.
Well, and
in the end, it's just words.
Well, what happens is these are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. They're dumb.
Right.
Especially they're idiots. They're morons. They're nincompoops. I imagine, and I could be wrong about this, but a lot of these fraternities are coddled upper-class kids that they've probably never even associated with people of other races. They don't.
Maybe not. Yeah, that's a good point.
At the abandon, they were throwing that word around. I'd say they haven't, because you wouldn't do that if you. That was the act of somebody that's never been held accountable for something in their lives, and the way you held somebody accountable is by dealing with it like you said, like a man. You don't deal with it by secretly somebody in that bus was having a moment of conscience, of conscience, and they recorded it and they reported everything. Good for the guy for having a conscience and not participating. Bad for him for being a rat.
No kidding. Honestly,
look,
a loser.
Why can't you just stand up and say, look, this isn't cool?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's another opportunity. Was it I think it was a male, right, that recorded it?
Yeah, I think
another opportunity to act like, even if it was a female, and act like an adult woman. If it was a male, act like an adult man. Stand up and say, hey, that's not right.
Yeah. Well,
they'll record it. What, are you trying to make a name for yourself?
Well, I mean, I'm sure he's got 4 million views on YouTube, which is all he probably cared about. And that's what adult men and women used to do. If you see something that wasn't cool, that it was bad. I mean, say I got onto a bus. I for some reason I have to take the Greyhound somewhere, and there's a bunch of people chanting the N-word and saying all kinds of horrible things. You're damn right I'd say something. I was like, come on, guys. This is not cool.
What's wrong with you people? Something like that.
Yeah. What's wrong with you people? I wouldn't call Greyhound bus headquarters. Oh, these guys are saying racial slurs on your bus.
Let me record them.
I'll upload it to YouTube tomorrow, and you can ban them all from Greyhound bus. That's not how you deal with that kind of stuff. You don't slink around in the shadows and try to get people kicked out of school. Because what happens is, if somebody stands up and tells these spoiled brats that they can't just go around yelling the N-word one time, they just have to be told one time by somebody with authority.
Right.
They'll stop doing it.
Right.
This would have never happened if somebody in these kids' lives at some point said, look, it's not acceptable to go around yelling racial slurs. It would have never happened. And none of this would have ever happened. And what's going to happen is this school, I mean, they're going to be under such pressure. These kids are ruined.
They're ruined. And that's my main point. That's my main point. What they did was stupid. It was ignorant. But what is the cost? Should they be ruined for words spoken that they didn't even know what they were being recorded?
Yeah.
They should be punished, but they shouldn't be ruined. And you know what? News to the national media out there, there's more important stuff going on.
Yeah.
There's more important stuff going on. Shame on the national media for always picking stuff that has to do with racism. Shame on them.
Well, and this is it's a victim mentality. This is you remember the military industrial complex?
Yeah.
We live in the victim industrial complex.
We do.
And I haven't seen any TV coverage of this. I just saw the story and I saw the video, which again, I mean, somebody just needs to get up and slap those guys. Just slap them with the back of your hand, by the way.
There you go.
You do
backhand them.
You backhand them and say, stop it.
Quit being morons.
Yeah, just grow up, and it would have stopped. But I guarantee I guarantee the TV media probably went to one of the black fraternities and showed them the video that they would have never otherwise heard.
It could be.
Tree falling in the forest. Well, if somebody brings you a recording of the tree, you're going to hear it.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, they've created a victim.
Yep. And they try to create division.
Yeah. And we worship victims in this society. It used to be we would aspire to be doctors and lawyers and astronauts, scientists. Now we aspire to be victims.
Yep. Well said.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we're in agreement. Suspend the fraternity. They can lose their national charter, but and
don't get involved in their academics.
Yeah, don't get involved in their academics. Just because let's be honest, they're not going to be able to stay there much longer.
Right, and we've all said stupid things that we'd like to take back.
Yeah, so
in private.
So they'll stay there. These kids, even if you do nothing academically, they'll stay there another semester. Then they'll slink off to some other school somewhere, and they'll finish their degree, and then they would be fine. Their lives wouldn't be ruined. But I guarantee these kids, people are going to try to ruin their lives. They're going to hunt down their parents, get their parents fired. It's and look, I mean, I have absolutely no sympathy for these idiots, but you got to handle it the right way, and maybe handling it the right way is standing up and saying this isn't right, showing them in the back of your hand. Don't hurt them, Just show them the back of your hand, stun them a little bit, and say, look, you can't just yell that word out anymore.
Exactly.
Okay, what do we have going on in sports?
Well, we have cowgirl basketball and cowboy basketball.
Okay, we'll actually have a guest next hour, so we'll see you tomorrow. News Talk 1270, KIML.
Please remain seated until the show comes to a complete stop. Thank you. Carry on.
Don Carpenter on